They say every fairy tale should end with fireworks, but Disney's live-action Snow White seems to be fighting off its own storm of controversy. Fans are split, insiders whisper about a crisis, and lead actress Rachel Zegler stands at the eye of the hurricane. Does Disney have a magical plan to fix this, or has their reimagined princess strayed too far from the classic story?
Why is Gal Gadot extremely resistant to having physical contact with Rachel Zegler in public? No one realizes that Rachel Zegler single-handedly ruined the entire Snow White crew. At the world premiere of Disney's Snow White, we didn't see any contact between Gal and Rachel, even during the final group photo. Gal deliberately placed her hand in front of her body, refusing to have any contact with Rachel. There was also a noticeable physical distance between the two. As a result, Rachel could only stiffly place her arm behind her skirt, wearing an awkward smile. Not only that, during the photo, Gal kept her lips pursed throughout and looked firmly straight at the camera in front, not willing to make any eye contact with Rachel at all. Even when Gal received Rachel's gaze, she immediately shifted her view, leaving Rachel to look forward awkwardly. You know, Snow White should have been released earlier. However, due to Rachel's boorish behavior at the Oscars, the public has been boycotting this movie. Even the crew members blamed Rachel for her unreasonable actions afterwards. It's quite reasonable that Gal, who is also a lead actor, doesn't want to interact with Rachel.
Word on the street is that Disney, fearing hard-hitting interviews, has pivoted to influencer-led promotion. Instead of a grand media blitz featuring top journalists, they've chosen a select group of social media creators for the film's rollout. Observers see this as an attempt to rein in any loose cannon moments, especially from Zegler. Critics say Disney is dodging real questions by focusing on easily managed personalities who'll stick to the script. While the studio insists this is modern marketing, many suspect it reflects deeper concerns about the film's uncertain reception. Yet it was the low-key event in Spain billed as neither a major premiere nor a standard press launch that truly raised eyebrows. Instead of a lavish Hollywood or London gala, local influencers and families were invited. Gal Gadot, the other big star, didn't appear, leaving Rachel Zegler in a subdued spotlight beside director Mark Webb. For a film poised to be a pillar of Disney's lineup, the small-scale rollout felt remarkably cautious. But this wasn't the only source of tension. Sparks ignited when a clip from a 2022 interview resurfaced, showing Zegler describing the original 1937 Snow White as weird and featuring a prince who literally stalks her. She added that she watched the cartoon only once, implying she found it creepy. Fans of the classic were outraged. They felt the actress was belittling a film cherished for generations. Her subsequent comments about Snow White dreaming of leadership rather than romance angered those who see the 1937 original as a cornerstone of Disney's legacy. Some applaud the modernization, saying a more independent Snow White fits today's values. Others argue her sharp tone toward the original can come off dismissive. Like, she's throwing an iconic film under the bus. This schism set the stage for deeper questions about how Disney can honor the past while refreshing the present. But that wasn't the only spark fueling a larger blaze.
Disney's live-action Snow White has been getting absolutely destroyed, and this is what Rachel Zegler had to say about it.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Is it just me, or did this feel like a monologue sequence at the end of a movie? And not a good one, mind you.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
Leaked set photos suggesting average-sized actors in place of 7 dwarfs led to a fresh uproar. Observers made jokes about Snow White and the 7 regular folks, while comedic personalities like Jason Manakuna complained that little people were losing roles. Reportedly, Disney might rely on CGI dwarfs instead. This enraged fans further, who see it as a misguided attempt at inclusivity that ends up alienating everyone. Actor Peter Dinklage took Disney to task, calling their approach selective wokeness. While they touted a Latina Snow White, they still clung to outdated tropes about dwarfs living in a cave. His remarks highlighted a perceived hypocrisy. The film claimed modern values in some areas while allegedly fumbling stereotypes in others. But it didn't end there. The conflict grew even more emotional when David Hand, son of the supervising director for the 1937 Snow White, lashed out. He declared Walt Disney himself would roll in his grave over the remake. For loyal fans, that stung more than random social media griping. If the film's own legacy keepers disapproved, Perhaps the remake had indeed gone off track. According to Hand, the new version tramples on the original's magic. It's one thing to modernize a fairy tale, but quite another to jettison what made it timeless. His condemnation resonated strongly, suggesting that in chasing modern tastes, Disney might be discarding the spirit that defined the first full-length animated feature in history. But that wasn't the only tide threatening to engulf the film. Hashtags like #boycott Snow White began trending fast. Fans dissected every snippet of Zegler's comments, from her claim that the prince was a stalker to her suggestion the cartoon was outdated. Many argued the actress was ridiculing a story millions still hold dear. Meanwhile, defenders insisted it's time to shed old tropes, praising Disney for a progressive angle. Yet the negativity grew louder than the praise. Entire YouTube channels devoted analysis to each new reveal, like the dwarfs fiasco or the scaled-back PR events. Skeptics claimed Disney was controlling the narrative, especially by avoiding mainstream reporters. Influencers, in turn, faced backlash for praising the film without addressing the swirling controversies, leading some to suspect a heavily stage-managed marketing plan. But what does all this turmoil mean for the star at the center of it?
We all know Disney is particularly afraid of being seen as political in one way or another. In fact, it very much did not support Rachel Zegler when the racist attacks against her for being cast as Snow White were lobbed. I mean, endless YouTube videos, racist tweets and all that, did not defend her or stand by her. She's talked about how when she was cast in West Side Story, which I believe was also a Disney production by Steven Spielberg, that she was told to prove her Latina, like Latinidad, like, are you actually Colombian? She's half Colombian. And so at that point, she was not, brown enough. Now, she's too brown to play Snow White. She can't catch a break. And now she's speaking out, or then she was speaking out about Palestine and being blamed for this faceplant. Before I kick it to you, let's be real. Gal Gadot is sort of the unspoken person in the room who is very much made Israel something personal to her as someone who lived there for years and served in the Israeli military, and someone who did a lot of propagandizing in the aftermath of October 7th when it comes to, the both atrocities, real and imagined, some of them, and she did a lot of that. But she's not reprimanded, of course.
And not only she's not reprimanded or blamed for her outspokenness, Variety did a piece talking about how she, as a mother of 4, has received death threats. But like you mentioned, nothing about Rachel Zegler, who for 2 years has been ruthlessly attacked by these incels online. And as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. They have used Snow White like they use Little Mermaid, like they use all these cartoons, like they use M&Ms to go after, quote unquote, the woke people of color. Right? She got all these death threats. I mean, just look at it. Just type in Rachel Zegler and see what this poor young woman has gone through. And then respect to her that the producer, this is a huge producer, the producer of the Wicked movies, flew thousands of miles to say, hey, take down the tweet. And she goes, nah.
After her acclaimed debut in West Side Story, Rachel Zegler seemed destined for A-list heights. Now, she's at a crossroads. Her blunt comments have made her a lightning rod for criticism. Could casting agents shy away from potential drama down the line, or will she remain Hollywood's rising star, brushing off a single tough project? She recently took a role in the West End production of Ada, possibly signaling a shift to theater, or at least a break from the Hollywood glare. Opinions differ. Some see it as a smart move to refocus on performance, while others wonder if she's stepping back to ride out the noise. In the end, her fate could hinge on whether Snow White defies the negative press or confirms fans' worst fears. But that's just one piece of the larger story. For decades, Disney has updated fairy tales to match shifting cultural norms. Often, these changes spark debate, yet Snow White sits on a unique pedestal. It's the foundational film that launched the studio's entire animated empire. Going modern with it triggers deeper emotional pushback, because it's not just any story, it's the blueprint. Supporters of the new approach say the 1937 version is too dated for current audiences. They argue that a leadership-focused Snow White resonates more than a romance-based plot. Yet purists feel you can't just disregard the sweet innocence that made the original a masterpiece. The film is about hope and gentleness, they say, not just a strong-willed heroine. Bridging both perspectives might be trickier than Disney ever expected, but how will it all conclude? As fans square off online and Disney rethinks its promotional plans, The one certainty is that Snow White is no longer just a simple update. It's become a battleground over legacy, representation, and how far you can bend a beloved classic before it snaps. Can this film still enchant audiences by blending a modern lens with a charm that made Snow White iconic? Or has the studio misjudged its audience, risking box office fallout and a damaged brand? We'll find out soon enough. Either the film will prove doubters wrong and win hearts despite the uproar, or it will stand as a cautionary tale about messing too heavily with tradition. In the meantime, we'd love your take. Are these changes exactly what Snow White needs to stay relevant? Or do they trample on a treasure from Disney's golden age? Share your thoughts below. And stay tuned, because in today's remake landscape, the real drama often unfolds long before the curtain goes up.